consider unusual things, special things. May we see some way that in the specialness, the special parts of our lives, there's a way to center that around you. In Jesus' name. We're going to tie a couple of things together, I hope. I've started laying something out, a trail of breadcrumbs, and I started laying out another trail of breadcrumbs, and hopefully they'll lead to the same place, and it'll all seem to fit. We spoke last time bizarrely about Cartesian coordinate system from your positive memories of elementary school mathematics. I can still see where I drew it from last time. Still in the impression of the chalkboard. We talked about the fact that the normal, mechanical, predictable part of physical reality, everything really in physics, can be described by taking something to the smallest piece it can exist as, the littlest piece that stuff comes in. And by the way, there is such a thing when you get stuff small enough, when you start taking away and taking away and taking away and taking away until you have the tiniest little piece of stuff, not a molecule, not even an atom, not even a proton, not even an electron, but when you get down to where you find out what those are made of, pretty soon you can't take anything away. You can't cut one of those in half and see what it's made out of, because it isn't made out of smaller pieces of stuff. It just isn't. And we know this. We know this not just from philosophers thinking about this. We don't know this from some special Gnostic knowledge of Scripture. We know this from the laboratory. We know that when you get down to the smallest piece of stuff, you can't get half of a piece of that. You can't get a third of a piece of that. It just isn't possible. So if you could have, for every one of those little pieces that can't get any smaller, no way that you could say, well, what if half of it went this way, half of it went that way. If you could have, for every one of those pieces, just four numbers, you would know exactly where it is and when it's there. You can then make formulas that record every place that it is, fits a formula, plug it in. You know, when you plot things, do you remember doing this? You've got your X, Y, and somebody says they want you to graph something like remember doing that? Yes? Did any of you hate it? Did any of you love it? You love it. Mm-hmm. And you love the whole number line thing too. What's your major?
Theology.
Theology, but not math or physics.
Oh, I could only just basic algebra like that, but.
But you love it.
Yeah, I like that for some reason. I don't
Are you
know.
going to be a pastor?
Yeah.
Do you know that Ellen White says in Testimonies to Ministers, that our ministers should, if they manage their time reasonably and responsibly, should master one branch of the sciences after another. And basically she says when they don't do that, they don't have credibility to do what they're doing. How about that? So
It's pretty strong.
get your theology stuff and then, then start getting your math and science going, right? This basically says anytime you get a value for x, you can just plug it into this formula to find out what the y is. Remember that? And then, after you've gotten all of these, say 0, 2 times 0 plus 1 is 1, and 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3, and negative 1 would be negative 1, and 2 would be 5, and negative 2 would be negative 3. So then all we have to do to be able to see what this line looks like, to be able to draw a line, is just plot each of these. So when I plot that, 0 and 1, and 1 and 3, and negative 1 and negative 1, I can already see where the line is. So any number you could give me, to be the x, I have a machine here. I have a machine that will tell where the y is going to be on that line. So if I have, instead of just these 2 variables, if I have 4 variables, I make a formula that has 4 variables. It's 4 dimensions. The dimensions being this way and this way. We only did 2 dimensions this time, but then we've also got this one that goes in and out, and we've got another number for when it was there. If we do that, that means we could have a formula for every particle to say where it is, when, in all of history, anywhere in the universe, anytime, past, present, or future. It only takes a formula that has 4 variables to describe where every single one of those tiny little particles would be. Of course, every one of those particles needs its own formula. And then you've got pages and pages and pages and pages and universes of formulas because it's one for every one of those little particles. However, it's just math. It's just following the rules. And if it's just following the rules, then where in that is your love? Is that just a rule too? Is that just a formula too? Where is your specialness, the specialness of your personality? Could we just select all the formulas for the particles that make up you, or that ever did make up you, or ever will make up you? Have that formula for where they're going, put it together, and we have combined formula that's your specialness? Or when you love somebody, you just take the 2 of them and put them together, and that gives you a formula that would have predicted it, so you have you're just a machine. When we go through our lives, doing what seems very normal, just you get up when you're supposed to, you go to your first appointment, you do what other people say, you turn to page 42, you do numbers 1 through 17, you get ready for the quiz second period, you go to work, you watch something on TV that someone else made, you go to bed on time so you get enough sleep, you eat the same regular stuff because it's what you can afford, You put on your same old clothes, and you just keep going. And then one day, you're old, and you're in a rest home. And then we bury you, and it has already started over with other people. And then that's life. That doesn't feel very good though, does it? It's kind of like nauseating. It's kind of like, ugh. Same old, same old. Here's your oatmeal. Nothing special. But then there's sometimes in our lives that something doesn't feel like that. Maybe it's Christmas. We usually, unless we have a screwed up family, screwed up enough, I mean, mine was screwed up, but I didn't manage to screw up Christmas. Well, it was complicated. You know, which family, you know, what time you're going to be with dad's people, and which time you're going to be with mom's people, and all of that stuff. But nevertheless, that was their junk. I've got Christmas, and it's special, and nobody's taken it away from me. There's wrapping paper and tinsel and Santa Claus and stuff and nativity scenes and candy and Christmas was so unlike a regular Tuesday in the third week of October as a kid. Or how about this? Let's move back into the so non-Christmas. How about this? Sunday evening. I don't know why, but Sunday evening was just such a throwaway time of the week to me. Am I the only one that when it was Sunday evening that was not the favorite time? It's so much different than Friday afternoon. So much different, like right in the, there's not even any like interesting weather or anything. It's just sort of like, it was raining over the weekend, but now like at the last second when you can't go out and play anyway because it's too late, it clears up, you know, and you've got a whole week of absolutely nothing but regular stuff, and you got to go back to school, and everything on TV is even crap on Sunday evenings. So you're sitting there in your living room going, well, shoot, well, here we go again. And it's just that terrible feeling, like December 26th or January 2. You know, heinous stuff, the day after your birthday. But what about the night before your birthday? What about the night before Christmas? And what about the night you come home and it was the last day of school for the school year? Those are magic times. You know, when the last day of school is more about water balloon fights and signing yearbooks, you have that feeling. You're a little sunburned when you come home because you've been messing around outside instead of sitting in the classroom all along. You've got plans for the summer. You're going, I don't have to get up for another, 9 weeks or 10 weeks I've got to me here. I'm going to just run the neighborhood, or I've got a project, or I'm going to this, or I'm going to that. I'm going to go call my friend. And those are such good feeling times. Most people that you meet are kind of bland. Go to the store. It helps if you make it Walmart. That really blands it out good. Of course, people with their phone cameras have helped us out by grabbing fascinating pictures of people that you can't believe left the house wearing what they're wearing. And at least they're entertaining because it's so unbelievable that they look like those people at Walmart pictures. Those are just, they're unusual, but you're usually not lucky enough to be even entertained reasonably when you just go to some bland store in suburbia USA, or you go over to Lower Lake and go to the Walmart, or go to Napa and go to the Walmart, go to Safeway in Vallejo, and walk around, and people are just kind of, and then they just go put gas in their generic cars, and you look at them and and they're just kind of going through the motions, and you're kind of just going through the motions, and it just gives you that regular kind of Sunday night feeling, you know? Just isn't special at all. It's not a happy thing. It's not really particularly sad either. It's just bland. You know what I mean? There's so much in life that can just get bland like that. You can even be with somebody that you're in a relationship with, and they're not like wronging you or anything. They're not like sneaking around and spending time with someone else and then lying to you about it. It's not like that. And they're not particularly abusive. They're not like running up your credit card or putting nail marks on you or bruising your cheek or anything like that. They're not like that. They're just kind of regular. And then every once in a while, whether you act on it or not, every once in a while you go, and you start thinking about getting with them, and you're going, well, I suppose I should, you know. It kind of starts to feel like going back to school after the weekend. And then sometimes somebody's dragging you to church. And you get there, and there's somebody standing there with an empty expression handing out bulletins. And you take a bulletin going, I won't be using this. And then you go in, and they're sort of mediocrely playing a hymn or something because you're a few minutes late and they're already into it. And it's not the kind of music that you want to like text a link to for somebody. You're not, I'm going to record this and send it to my friends. That's not happening. It's like, no. Okay, we're down, we're up, and then, I mean, have you never said, yeah, I gotta go to church, and then thought about it, and it gives you that Sunday night feeling, or that December 26th feeling, or that day after your birthday feeling, or that, okay, well, it's comfortable, I'll go do it. Spirituality takes very many forms, but the one thing that it has in common is that it's people trying to get at the not common. It's people saying, how do I get out of the formulated stuff? How do I have a feeling instead of that Sunday night in October feeling or April? So, it's just so not special, you know? There's nothing wrong with it. There's just nothing, and there's some stuff's even right, but it's not. How do I get Christmas morning feeling? How do I get that feeling in my life that's anything but regular when after months or even years of kind of having a crush on that person that when you look at them, if they ever catch your eye, you get that same feeling in your stomach that you get when you sort of do a somersault on your bed. You get a zing in your, it's like, they look at you, it's like, and a serious adrenaline. That person that you've written notes to, and all they end up is a big folded up sweaty piece of binder paper that you throw away and write another one because you didn't have the guts to give it to him when he said you would. But then one day, let's make it extra special. One day, it's the day that you're going to have, when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's going to be Christmas vacation. And you're just about ready to leave school because school's out and you're kind of on the way to get a ride. Or or to walk, and that person just kind of comes up to you and they have the courage to give you a note. And they smile and give it to you and then go away. And you can't wait to open it, but there's, your friends are saying goodbye to you, Merry Christmas, and you're going, Merry Christmas, get out of here. I'm gonna do this thing. And you just open. So you, under your coat, you sneak a peek, and it just says something that leaves no question. I really like you. I've liked you for a long time. I mean, Penn and Teller, it's magic. It's so, you have so much Christmas spirit, you just can't, you don't even know whether, but now you're not sure, you might want to look forward to even going back to school after New Year's, it's just so, it's new. Things that are new. When you get into that car and you start it up and you drive it away from the dealership and it smells like a new car and the odometer says 11 and it's perfect, still has the stickers in the window. Yeah, that's my car. Somebody says, hey, did you get a new car? Yeah, I did. I did. Or you got the nicest outfit that you've ever left the store with, and you can't even wait to go to your bland tomorrow because you're going to wear that special stuff. It makes it all special. You go, oh, I got it tomorrow, and you go, oh, I get to wear the outfit. I got stuff to wear. My feet might hurt because the shoes are new. I'm good with it. They're new. I got new clothes.
This might be a little off topic, but when you told the story about getting a love letter from someone, that made me think of the Bible, and would you say that the Bible is like a love letter from God?
I ask. I wouldn't say. I'd ask. Have you ever, honestly, has it ever felt that way? Honestly, not, oh yeah, I'm kind of a religious person, I should say that, or I'm in the habit of saying it, or that's what, I'm a theology major and I have to represent or whatever. But has it ever been, ever, to you as magic as a love letter from somebody that is the first time and you weren't sure, but now you know, and they had a crush on you, and you get that thing? There's people, I've seen a thing that went around on Facebook in the last few months. There were some people, I don't even remember what country it was in, but it was a country where they weren't allowed to have Bibles. And somebody took a picture of these people, there's 30 people gathered, sort of dimly lit place, and they're opening a box, and there's all these raggedy old Bibles that got sent from the United States or Europe or somewhere. And they're weeping. In that case, maybe. In our case, what do you think? Do you go, oh yeah, and you get that zing and that excitement, oh yes, but I've got my Bible. Maybe you do. When it's new. Maybe you do when you just found something out you had no idea about it. try in this class, before this quarter ends, I'm gonna try to see if I can make that happen for you. Instead of going, okay, so I'm gonna try to see if I can make you think there's something magic in here. Now this is backwards to say this. I was lucky enough not to be born into a Christian home. Now if you're born into a Christian home, I actually covet that and you're very lucky. Some very good things about that, and I wouldn't want my own children to have come up otherwise. I wouldn't choose to have it be, but in my case, I feel so infinitely fortunate that there was a point at which it kind of came alive for me, and I was so excited about it, and it felt magic to me. We didn't have any of the special stuff going on, and I was finding stuff in here, and I didn't know there was such a thing. Like, I didn't know because I had bigger brothers and sisters that, and all the people at church, and because I didn't go to church, I was talking to the pastor about getting baptized, and my mom got dragged to the church. I had found this church, riding my bike to different places to talk to pastors when it wasn't church day, and then going on Sundays to different churches to try to find some place, because I've been reading in it, and I had some confidence in it, and I was finding some things that seemed important, not exciting, but important at least. And I was kind of adamant and kind of scholarly about it for a 9-year-old, not as much as you can be. I was working my way through, and I'd get part of the way through the Pentateuch, the first part that Moses wrote, and I'd lose my place and forget where I was, and come back in a few weeks, start over. And so I was going to be an expert in Genesis and Exodus and Leviticus, but I didn't have a lot else going on. I had heard once that my older brothers had walked to like a Presbyterian church close to where they grew up. They were 18 and 20 when I was born, so they were off in college and the military the whole time I was growing up. They had been given stickers if they do their memory verse. They'd be given like some stickers or something, and so they had been given. I knew one verse of the Bible when I started in on my scholastic stuff here. I knew Ephesians 4:32. Because my mom and my grandma laughed about my brothers once. They'd gone to Sunday school and they were going to go the next week. And my grandma came to stay with them for the weekend. And they were, on Saturday night, they had just taken their bath. So they were looking forward to going and getting a sticker and maybe a lemon drop or something, whatever it is, for memorizing Ephesians 4:32. So they had come out of the bath, shed their towels without putting on their DVDs yet, and little dudes are running around the house, booty naked, and saying, "Be ye kind one to another," Ephesians 4:32, and they jump up on the table and say it. "Be ye kind one to another," Ephesians 4:32. So I totally had one memory verse. I never got a sticker for saying Ephesians 4:32. And I didn't know that it actually went on. Tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. I didn't know that part. I just knew that one little bit. But I was started to see some stuff here that really surprised me, because it actually told me things about how I should do my life. And how I could have a special life. So it was special to me. And so I went and I found it was a Catholic priest. I went with a buddy his brother was an altar boy at St. Peter's, so I went there. Father Grinnell was like the 7th or 8th minister that I talked to. Explained to him what I was finding, and he said he thought my scholarship was pretty honest, and he was impressed that I had found something of value like that, and I said, so I had come up with a few kind of Adventisty things on my own that I should not to do, some prohibitions, things I shouldn't do. So I was asking him about these kind of Old Testament Adventist things, and said, so the Bible says really clearly, and he said, yeah, It does. He says, so that's what you do here at your church? He said, we don't actually observe some of those things. Some of them we do, but some of them we don't. I said, what's in the Bible? How could you do? And he said, well, obviously your parents taught you that, the Bible is where the, truth is and everything. That's the ultimate, it says so. And I said, well, no, we don't go to church, and my mom doesn't live with, my dad and mom aren't together. I just raised by my mom, and my mom, she doesn't do those things. And he said, but didn't she tell you that it's actually the thing? And I said, well, actually, yeah, she did. She did say that it was true, but we just don't do it. And he said, see, you believed her. He said, my parents told me, my mom and dad both told me that it was the Holy See. I said, Holy See, you mean like Christ? And he said, no, S-E-E, like the Holy High See. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the Pope. I said, you mean the head of your church? He said, yeah. I said, well, that's ridiculous. He said, well, no, it's not ridiculous. I don't tell you it's ridiculous that you go by the Bible because that's what your mom told you once. So you just respect what I have and I respect what you have. Doesn't that make sense? I said, I guess so. He said, this is just where I started and this is where you started. Okay. So he said, well, I believe that God speaks through the Holy Father, the Pope, and then he tells things that apply today, and some of the things in the Bible were just, things that he was telling a messenger back then, and now he tells things today. I said, well, I don't think the Pope is God's messenger today. And he said, well, fair enough. Then this wouldn't be a church where you'd be satisfied. I said, well, where would one be? And he said, I know a church. So I got the funniest route into Adventism. And he looked in the yellow pages to get the number and he described where it was, and I said, oh, I could probably find that. So I found it on my bicycle. I called the guy that was a pastor, happened to get me when I called the church. I said, could I talk to the minister? And a secretary put the minister on. So Sacramento Central Church. Any of you from Sacramento? Any from Sacramento Central? You from Sacramento Central?
I mean, I went there like a long time ago. I used to go there.
Sweet. Well, that was my home church. So it was 1,000 years ago. Though you were very young. You were very young in 1972. So I went there and I met with the pastor and said, "Here's what I found." And he said, "Absolutely." I said, "So you do these things?" "Absolutely." "No way!" He said, "What about these things?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know about that." He said, "We better start knowing if you're going to go by it." I better start knowing. He said, "Here." He gave me this inch-thick thing that was a children's and youth or something baptismal studies guide thing. He said, "Give me this." Here you go. He goes, "And here's a Bible that has the page numbers that fit the page numbers every time it asks you to look something up." I said, "Oh, no way. That's like a game. That's like Highlights Children's Magazine game." He said, "Oh, it's kind of like, you can see it like a game." I said, "Yeah." And so I told him that I had seen on an Easter morning once, I saw a TV special where there was a story of Jesus, and it showed Jesus getting baptized. And he went to the river, and there was a guy at the river who put him underwater, held him under there for a second, and brought him back up. And I said that I went to family friends. My mom knew this woman because they used to be neighbors 20 years ago, whatever. Some lady who we went to her house a lot, and they didn't have any kids my age, so I was always looking forward to going home. Anyway, her son was like early 20s or something. He was getting baptized in a church, and it was a church where they didn't put him underwater. They just sprinkled him. I didn't even know what church it was. But I'd gone to it, and they had this talk about the pastor there, or minister, or priest, or whatever it was, whoever the practitioner was, Reverend Dude somebody, had said that you got to be baptized, to be saved. So important. And so I said, I remembered that. I said, can you do that for me? You're a minister and everything. Can you do that? He said, sure. He said, I said, when can we do that? He said, well, I'd like you to go through this. I'd like you to go through this baptismal guidance, before we do that. Okay. So when I do that, will you, then you can baptize me. He said, yeah, we'll see. So, man, I went home, and it was already late afternoon, and I started working on it with the Bible, and I worked on it. It was summertime, and I didn't have to get up. Summertime, and my mom went to bed, I don't know, at 1 in the morning, when it used to be that the TV would go off. Now you can watch TV all night, but the TV would go off at 1 or 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning if it was a weekend, sometimes 4 if you were watching a good horror movie or something on Saturday night, but usually it was like a broken TV after 1 in the morning, it's just nothing. It's just, CBS is now ending our broadcast day, and we hope you've enjoyed it. And it snowed. So when the TV went to snow, my mom went to bed. And so I worked on it, and I kept working on it, and I took a little nap, when it was getting light outside and you get that sick feeling from staying up all night. Took a little nap, got up, and it was still not even really past breakfast time. Got set right back down and started working on it again and kept working on it. Just getting up just to get a drink or go to the bathroom or get some food. Sit there right at the table, work. And then it got to be about 2:30 the next morning. My mom had already gone to bed, gone to sleep. TV was snow, so she had nothing else to do. So then the pastor had given me his business card that had his numbers on it, including his home number. Told me I could call him. So, having a 1,200 member church like Sacramento Central, I'm sure he never, it was all about me. To me it was it. So it was 2:30 in the morning. He said, when you finish this, call me. So when you're 9 and you have a business card and you can almost reach the phone that's on the end of the counter, cabinets, I phoned him 2:30 in the morning, explained to him that I had finished the baptismal guide, and he said, I said, okay, I did it. He says, you got the first lesson? I said, no, I'm done with it. I've gone through. And while I was going through, the stuff I was finding would be a yes answer to your question. It was unbelievable what I was learning about how I could have this special life. I was like secret agent man for God. I was like a 007 kind of gonna be a magic operative for the Lord. I mean, I was on it, and it was new, and it was charged, and I was just as excited as if Michelle, the girl across the street that I never gave the note to, if she had given me one. I was jazzed. Man. So I went, yes.
Oh, no, keep going.
No, it's all right.
Oh, my question was like, how long was it before you had that experience? You're like, oh, wow.
Right there?
Yeah, how long was that period of time?
How long did it last?
Well, it was a Tuesday when I went to see him, and it was Thursday night.
Okay.
That it didn't take very long to get it going, in other words. And so I said, so I finished it, when can I get baptized? And he said, well, I need to probably talk to your mom about that and make sure she's on board with that. And I said, well, I'll see if she can bring me. When can I meet you tomorrow? He said, okay, what time would you like to meet? I said, anytime. He said, well, let's say 2 o'clock. I've got some stuff going in the morning and everything. How about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon? I said, well, hang on. Let the phone go clunk, 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 and hang by some rant. Mom, wake up. Can you take me to talk to the pastor at that church about getting baptized? What? Why are you talking to me at 2:30 in the morning? Hurry hurry up, I want to make him wait. You make him wait, is he here? No, he's on the phone. You called him at 2:30 in the morning? Yes, he told me to call when I finished the lessons, and I finished the lessons. I'm doing what he said. I was 9, okay? This is like between 4th and 5th grade. So she said, yeah, I suppose. What time? He's saying 2. She says, 2 is great. And she's shaking her head and trying to go back to sleep, and I go, okay, my mom says she'll bring me at 2. I'll see you then. How excited was I about that? How excited was I about that? And so while I was there, I showed him the lesson thing, and he was saying to my mom, it's kind of unusual, you know, I don't that often run into somebody that's 9 that does these things on their own like this. We usually have a little class, and they come and they miss every 3rd one, and chase them to get it done and everything. He said, my mom said, well, yeah, I'm a school teacher, and I recognize that he might be a little unusual compared to understood. And so I said, so I want to get baptized. And he said, well, when would you be one? I said, not tomorrow, but 2 weeks from tomorrow, Sabbath. And I was saying Sabbath instead of Saturday. Sabbath. I want to be baptized because it's my birthday. I turned 10 on September 9, and it's Sabbath. I want to get baptized and have my new birthday. And it said in there that it was like a new birthday in the lessons. I'll have my new birthday on my old birthday, and they'll be the same birthday. And he said, Mom? And she said, fine. And he said, now, I don't know if you know this, and I didn't, but did you know that there's a special school for Seventh-day Adventist boys and girls? There is? Like, on the weekends? You mean like Sabbath school? And so far, actually, I hadn't gone to Sabbath school with the juniors. I was going to the adult Sabbath school because I felt like I didn't belong with the little kids. I've been going to the adult lesson study, and I can remember a guy named Dr. McGann was teaching the lesson study, and I was into it, you know, and I was trying to get them to give me one of those things, and they were giving me like this junior guide. I'm going, they're not looking at something called junior, give me the thing. So I got the thing, and I was doing that lesson study too, and it's like, everyone else is really old. I mean, they're not even like the old that I am. I mean, they're old like my dad, or, you know, older than my dad even now, you know, old folks. But they're talking about these interesting things, and they were over where they were trying to tell me, I couldn't tell, you go where there's felts, or where somebody's explaining how it's a metaphor that he has his pocket knife, and it's like some text in Jeremiah or something. I said, give me the lesson book, you know, let's do this theology stuff. So I eventually made it to the juniors because they asked me if I would do scripture and prayer. Would you do scripture and prayer? The guy who was a junior leader, probably the pastor said, or the Sabbath school superintendent said, get the little kid out of the adult division and put him where he belongs, you know. So it's like, well, what are we going to do? And so a guy named Bill Hotzen was the junior director then, and he said to me, and I found out he was also the parish elder. We get a special under minister for our whole little neighborhood. So he called me on the phone and said, would you have scripture and prayer? Yes, I would. Thanks. This Sabbath, right? Right. In the juniors. I know where that is. Okay, I'll do it. I wrote it in my appointment book, scripture and prayer. And I put it with his phone number. And yeah, I still remember his phone number. I have a strange brain. Shoot. Yeah, it was 3812199. So I called him right back after I realized I don't know what that means, scripture and prayer. The heck is that? My mom didn't know what scripture and prayer was. Well, prayer, you know, we were going to pray, you know, please bless the food. So I called him back and said, Or just, what is it? So begin to read something from your Bible. What would I read? Well, whatever you want. Sometimes there's a special emphasis or theme, and the person that asks you, will it give you the verse? But other times you just pick. Okay, well, how long should it be? Like a whole book? Oh, no, not a whole book. It should just be like a verse or two. For juniors, I said, okay. And then I pray. Like, now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Because I did say my prayers at night. He said, no, not that one. Just talk to God like you're gonna just talk to, I said, like, hey, how you doing? He said, no, not like that. So he showed me. He said, well, it would sound something like this. I said, oh, I can do that. And so I did. But then back to the pastor's study, on Friday in our 2 o'clock meeting, he said, there's a special school. I said, you mean like Sabbath school? He said, no. So like after school, like there's this Jewish girl who goes to temple. She's in my neighborhood. You mean like that? Or when Tony and John went to catechism? I said, no, not like catechism after school. It's not like that. We have stuff like that. We have like all kinds of stuff for young people. But this is like, you don't go to your school anymore like Monday through Friday. Get up and go there. You go to a Seventh-day Adventist school. I said, I do? There's a place like that? I said, well, I've never seen one. He said, yeah, it's out in Carmichael. I said, oh, I was in Carmichael once. He said, okay, well, but I don't live in Carmichael. I just walk across the street and go to school now. And he said, well, not anymore. If you want to go to a special school for Adventist young people, well, how do I get there? He said, well, we'll have a bus. It'll come right and pick you up at your house. You just they'll know your address, and I said, so I just get ready on time and go out and get in the bus, and you drive me there, and then you take me back home. Yeah. No way. Mom, can I go to school? I said, well, I can't afford to pay for a private school. And he said, figure it out, don't worry. And he said, you know how you study spelling, and you study reading, and you study math, and you study PE, and you do all those things. He said, we have a special every day, 5 days a week. We have Bible class. I said, at school? I'm going to study the Bible at school? So when I got there, all these folks that it was pretty normal to study the Bible at school, and they've been there since first grade, were pretty sure that I was from another